So I think when we sent you the sutta on Ariya Pariyesana Sutta, and so you must be thinking also, because our topic is on Noble Eightfold Path. So I'd like to start the journey to share with you all first how that comes about, because it's important. As I think in our life, each of us have our search, and when we are coming to learn the Dhamma, and the learning, is it for the sake of learning or for the sake of practice, so that we will be able to make good use or benefit, from the Dhamma that we learn. So firstly, we can see that the direction of the search would lead us to, of course, the fulfillment of our search, but if, of course, we search for something good, something enlightening, then, of course, the search that we are looking forward to should be something that direct to those end of the qualities or happiness that we look for, And in this case also, when we talk about happiness, it's also depending on how we define happiness. I can see in the discussion, the keywords that will come out is search for happiness, search for peace, search for enlightenment, of course, also search to fulfill our material needs, And so these are quite common to everybody. And again, that the degree of the definition of what we mean, let's say, by happiness or by enlightenment or by peace or by material needs or wants will depend on individual. But how do we actually look at how the Buddha actually reached to that discovery that helps to end our actually that very search, So this Ariya Pariyesana Sutta is a very important sutta to show us how the Buddha actually, as a person like all of us, make that search in life, and what he has defined, leads to the discovery of Noble Eightfold Path. So what leads to the discovery of Noble Eightfold Path is because that very search for that path. If, let's say, we don't have the search, let's say I wish to go to Penang, then I will go to Penang, But if I don't have, I only listen to other people saying that, oh, Penang is very nice, or, you can have a lot of variety of food. You may just listen, But if you start to know that, oh, they have a very nice food, like maybe, chao kway tiao or what, that interests you, then you'll be able to think of wanting to go to Penang, But if not, you may not think so. But for the Noble Eightfold Path, if we do not think of a path that we really wish to help us to find that peace or happiness or enlightenment, then of course it will never happen, because we don't search for it. Now, the search and enlightenment, So the Ariya Pariyesana Sutta is said by scholars to be the earliest account of the Buddha's renunciation and awakening, and is the oldest Buddha biography in existence. So a lot of people think of the Buddha or say about the Buddha in literature sometimes as like, for example, like a Buddha that which is exists not in this world, but in a world that beyond our imagination. But it's not true. In this sutta, it shows us very clearly that Buddha actually is a person like all of us, and he actually lived like all of us, have been like all of us before, but he searched for something that may not be all of us are looking for. But anyway, we see further. Okay, so here we say the Buddha actually was born in Lumbini, now is in Nepal, and he was from the royal parents of the Sakya clan, but he renounced his home life to live as a wandering ascetic, Yeah, and after leading a life of alms, asceticism, and meditation, he attained enlightenment, yeah, at Bodh in what is now India. Okay, the Buddha name actually, if in that sutta you see, there are two kinds of search. We search for certain things in life, material or spiritual, but the Buddha actually put it very clearly, yeah, what is a worldly search and what is a spiritual search. So here in the sutta, they put it as ignoble search, which represent worldly search. And noble search, this is maybe in our term, they said it's spiritual search. Interestingly, how the Buddha defined it, and so how we can match our own search to find out that what we are searching is a worldly search or is a spiritual search. Or maybe sometimes we confuse, yeah, whether we are on the right path or we are not. Here clearly the Buddha spelled it out, yeah. It said ignoble search. What is ignoble search? Ignoble search is, it said, here someone being himself subject to birth seeks what is also subject to birth, right? Someone being himself subject to aging seeks what is also subject to aging. Someone being himself subject to sickness, then seeks what is also subject to sickness. And someone being himself subject to death seeks what is also subject to death. Someone being himself subject to sorrow seeks what is also subject to sorrow. And someone being himself subject to defilement seeks what is also subject to birth, to defilement. So ignoble search is that we are same as others in a way that what we seek is actually leading to birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and defilement. As we seek for this or search for this, of course, we will go around this birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and defilement. Yeah? So what may be said to be subject to birth? Then the Buddha said, wife and children are subject to birth. Same too, like aging, yeah. What is subject to aging? Also wife, children, and subject to aging. And then men, women, slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, elephants, cattle, horses and mares, gold and silver are subject to birth too. So this go to all these are subject also to aging, sickness, then to sound the term, death, sorrow, defilement. Of course, in this case, I highlight the gold and silver because of our gold, silver won't subject to death. Right? But some, of course, is involved with gold and silver. And the key thing is that the Buddha said, these acquisitions are subject to birth, and one who is tied to these things, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to birth, seek what is also subject to birth. Now you carefully look at the word. These acquisitions are subject to birth, and one who is tied to this thing, infatuated with them, and utterly committed to them, being himself subject to birth, seeks what is also subject to birth. This is a definition that the Buddha gave. So here the few words, the acquisition, tied with it, infatuated with it, committed to it, then that is subject to birth. And this goes with the aging, anti-defilement. Now, what is the noble search? So the noble search, the Buddha defined it as someone being himself subject to birth, having understood the danger in what is subject to birth, seeks the unborn supreme security from bondage, nibbana. In your discussion just now, some of you also have that wish, that you wish to seek for liberation. So it is actually in pair. So although you are subject to birth, but it seeks for the unborn supreme security from bondage. Since one is subject to aging, but you search for unaging. Yeah. Next one, although one is subject to sickness, but they are seeking for unailing. Okay. Next one is one, although it's subject to death, but they seek for deathlessness. Yeah? And one who is subject to sorrow, but they seek for sorrowless. Yeah. And the last one, although one is himself subject to defilement, he seeks for undefiled states. So we can see between birth and death, yeah, means between the B and D stands a C. Yeah? So the C is your choice, yeah, of life. So in this way, that the Buddha said, if you search for something that is unaging, unailing, deathless, sorrowless, undefiled, this is a noble search. But if you seek, you yourself are subject to birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, and defilement. And if one also continue to seek for this, then of course they will be tied to suffering. Yeah? Now, next one, the search for enlightenment. Yeah? So the Buddha mentioned here very clearly in Ariya Pariyasana Sutta, I say, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva. Yeah? So you can hear the word bodhisattva here, but the Buddha mentioned as unenlightened. Yeah? The Buddha referred himself as one who seek for enlightenment, but haven't got enlightened. So it's unenlightened bodhisattva. So the word bodhi is enlightenment. Satta means a person, yeah? One who seek for enlightenment. So he said, he too, being himself subject to birth, sought what was also subject to birth. And aging, death, then sorrow and defilement. So we are also the same. The Buddha, before his enlightenment, he too are like all of us, He also do that. But then he considered, why being myself subject to birth, do I seek what is also subject to birth? Because what we seek just now is what? Happiness, peace, enlightenment. We wish for all those things. But then when we are subject to this, we still seek for all this. Yeah? And because of this, then of course, instead of getting happiness, we get unhappiness. Instead of getting peace, we get a lot of conflict, chaos. So that is the opposite. But the Buddha made himself to determine to seek for the noble search. Yeah? Because why? He understood the danger in what is subject to birth. Now, if you ponder a while, what is the danger of birth? Can you think about it? What is the danger of birth? Can anybody answer? Easy?
Death.
Yeah. What do you think? What is the danger of birth?
Karma.
Your old karma is coming, then what else? That karma can be good, can be not good. You got to experience all the vipaka, yeah? What else? Anybody else? What is the danger?
Ayya, both subject to aging, sickness, and death.
Yes, that cycle comes, yeah? You have birth, then you will age. When you age, you will get sick. When you get sick, then death also will come. Yeah, and then separation, and all the cycle come again and again, right? And so even in discussion just now, some of the group say, well, when we're young, we search for something more material. And then when you get to like maybe the third quarter of your life, you don't think about that anymore, yeah? Because you have done with what needs to be done during your young time to earn a living. But when you're old, you start to seek for spirituality. But some people still do not do so. They may still seek for a lot of sensual pleasure, yeah? But here, the Buddha said, because he saw, yeah, the danger in what is subject to birth, that's why he seek the unborn supreme security from bondage, yeah, not to be bind again by samsaric cycle. So you have to seek the opposite, right? So therefore, realizing the danger, the Buddha seek or go for the noble search, not the worldly search anymore. Yeah. So when one determined to do that, then of course, not only that, but one have to also continue to search for, of course, guidance. Yeah. Now, the next thing that you can see in the Ariya Pariyasana Sutta is that the next thing after having that thought, yeah, and determined to seek for what is unborn, unailing, unaging, and deathless, sorrowless, and without defilement. Yeah? So the Buddha searched for teachers to teach, yeah, and to guide him, and also the path and method that they use to develop the mind. So the Buddha described himself as a very young, while still young, a black-haired young man endowed with the blessing of youth, means still very strong, very able, capable. But the Buddha already have this thought in mind, seeing the danger of birth and those others, aging and sickness and all those things in the prime of his life. Yeah. So means if you can imagine, these are like, you're describing someone in the prime of their youth, very strong man, capable, and in the prime of your life, yeah, where you have everything and anything, yeah, and what your parents wish for you, of course, they may also wish a lot of things, yeah, for parents upon a child. Then he said, though my mother and father wish otherwise, yeah, and wept with tearful faces, I shaved off my hair and beard, put on the yellow robe, and went forth from the home life into homelessness. So during that time, we can imagine, during the time of the Buddha, there are a lot of movement on samana, means people going forth to seek for spiritual answer into life, yeah, and they ponder a lot about life. And here we can see that the story of the Buddha, like midnight, go into the wife room, not really described here, and like, quietly go out from the city and like sneaking out, yeah. But you see here is clearly mentioned that the Buddha mentioned very clearly the parents actually wept when he left to search for the noble search. Yeah? And so having gone forth in search of what is wholesome, yeah. So noble search is something you search which is wholesome, not material, but something that is wholesome to your life. Seeking the supreme state of sublime peace. So here we can see, if we seek for peace, but the Buddha seek for sublime peace, yeah, means everlasting one, yeah. I went to Kalama and said to him, yeah. So he went to see this Kalama. Kalama is one of the teacher of that time whose practice is very known, like to be good and the high, yeah. And so he went and learned from Kalama. And the Buddha was very quick in learning and in practicing, and he knows Kalama have that knowledge, direct knowledge, by their experience and practice, yeah. So having learned from him, yeah, then the Buddha said, he too have faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, matching what Alara Kalama have. And so the Buddha also is able to abide, enter upon and abide in this Dhamma by realizing for myself with direct knowledge. So the Buddha, he learned, not only he learned, he put into practice what his teacher taught him. And he too realized what the teacher had realized. And so his teacher was very happy to place him as a pupil on equal footing with himself and awarded him highest honor. But then the Buddha think, having learned from Alara Kalama, he still find there's still remnants of answer, that which is not answered by this method of practice. So his concern is very much to, he said, this Dhamma does not lead to disenchantment, to dispassion, to cessation, to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to Nibbana. Means still there's remnant of knowledge or the experience that the Buddha find did not answer his question. Because the Buddha seek for what? Again, we know it's unborn, unailing, then unaging, deathless, and then also sorrowless and without non-defiled. And the highest knowledge that he learned from here is that he have the reappearance in the base of nothingness. So later teaching of the Buddha, we can see that base of nothingness is a state of mind. They call it immaterial states of mind. After a person has developed jhana, practice until fourth jhana, they can choose to also develop the immaterial states of mind. So this is considered the immaterial states of mind that is a base of nothingness. Next one, because he couldn't really fulfill the noble search, then he moved on to look for another teacher to learn. And the next teacher is Uddaka Ramaputta. And from Uddaka Ramaputta, he actually learned the base of neither perception nor non-perception. So in that time, that immaterial state that people can go through is also very high already. There are four. One is a base of consciousness. Then you have also the base of nothingness. And also spaciousness, and also the base of neither perception nor non-perception. So there are four states. And Uddaka Ramaputta have achieved base of neither perception nor non-perception. And the Buddha also learned and practiced, and he also is able to reach that state, that knowledge. And Uddaka Ramaputta actually placed him, like himself, to become a teacher, to teach others. So you can imagine during that time, the Buddha actually acquired, and during the Samana tradition, those knowledge is able to be achieved, with the practice of meditation. And so in this case, although the Buddha has achieved that level, supposed to be the highest level during that time, but the Buddha was not satisfied, because having analyzed, he still find it doesn't help him to answer the quest that he has. And again, he said, it does not lead to disenchantment, dispassion, cessation, to peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, Nibbana. And therefore, the Buddha continued to search. Now he spent much time in Uruvela. Those who have been to pilgrimage in Senanigama, can you remember what is that in Senanigama? Anyone has gone for pilgrimage? I think some of you, right? Senanigama is where we hear about the Sujata offer alms food, right? Offer the food to the Buddha. So even until today, you can visit that place. So the Buddha after the two teachers, and he continued to wander by stages. From Magadan country. Magadan is basically, Kim Biminsara is near Rajagaha. So about probably 100 over kilometer from Uruvela. So from there he proceed and finally settle himself to meditate, to do his cultivation, deep meditation. And he found a place near the river bank. So the river bank there and some villages there. And so he thought that place would be good for him to anchor himself for his striving. So after that, he actually placed himself there. But here it doesn't mention about how long he strived there, or whether it's we know that in other sutta that the Buddha actually went through this self-mortification for about 6 years before he attained enlightenment. But here he just mentioned about that place is well for striving for his quest of enlightenment. So the last part, of course, after having practices so many types of meditation and avoiding also others, then finally the Buddha, his search ended when he attained the final liberation at the foot of the Bodhi tree. Now it's called Bodhgaya. So, but having searched for such a long time, what are the knowledge that comes to answer the Buddha's quest? The Buddha's quest is that, is there any path that is unborn, that is unaging, unailing, and then deathless, sorrowless, and then, of course, not defiled, means unbounded. And with his realization, we call it the three knowledges, where the Buddha discovered about his own life, his own birth and death, life after life, life after life. Not one time, not 10 times, not 100 times, not 1,000 times, but thousands and millions of times. So that knowledge. And the second one is the Buddha can see with his divine eyes how beings are born in one plane and then die and then ended up in another plane of existence. And some go to plane of existence which are more pleasurable, more better. Some go to wufu states like animal, petas, and hell. So he is able to see again life and death of beings and what constitute the next birth into a wufu realm or a good realm. And with this, of course, the direct knowledge of birth and death again comes, and how the end of this birth and death can be overcome. This is the part where it's unique to the discovery of the Buddha, and that is where the Buddha saw how ignorant condition volitional action, and how volitional action start to condition consciousness, and consciousness condition mind and matter, and then the six sense spaces, and then the contact, the feeling, craving, clinging, becoming, then birth, then aging, then death. So I think famously you have heard about dependent origination, right? So with that, the Buddha answered his noble quest. He found the way how to overcome the suffering that mankind go through. And of course, with that, we know that in the philosophical part, we hear about the dependent origination, what condition, all the suffering, the cycle of suffering, that is called ignorance. And how the cycle of suffering can be ended is through wisdom. And then we ask how this wisdom can arise. Then, of course, we need the path to show us how to reach there. Yeah, and in this way, the Buddha having being subject to birth, having understood the danger of what is subject to birth, seeking unborn supreme security from bondage, nibbana, then the Buddha attained the unborn supreme security from bondage. So it's through that three knowledge that the Buddha achieved during enlightenment that set him free and set him to end his search, finally. So if you see how the discovery of truth can be made, of course in Chanki Sutta they explain in detail how truth can be discovered and to prevail and to continue until the ultimate truth is found. We can see that the approach of a Buddhist, or what we say that the learner of the Buddha's teaching, we can actually differentiate between the truth that we're seeking. First, we look at worldly search, the other one spiritual search. Then this can be also looked into the difference from other religion. Just so I mentioned, especially the dependent origination, the 12 links that the Buddha discovered is a very unique discovery that helped to answer the final quest for the highest truth and also liberation. So in Buddhism, we know that there's no blind faith, as stated in Kalama Sutta, and in MN 26, the Ariya Pariyasana Sutta. You need to know which search are you seeking. The answer is very clear. If you search for worldly search, then of course you get the worldly material things. That doesn't mean that we say, oh, you don't work. No. What we mean is that the Buddha mentioned that if you're very tied to it, you're infatuated with it, and you overspend your time with it, then of course you will experience the suffering. Yeah, it's just as simple as that. But if you are not, you seek it for the sake of you need it because you have to fulfill some basic requirement of life, and these are 4 requisites. So then, of course, you may not be subject yourself to that more suffering, because the more that one has, the Buddha said, the more the suffering can come. Number 2, we need to keep searching. A lot of people think that it's very easy. I believe in something, I surrender, then okay, I'll be guaranteed to a good destination. Is that so easy? Okay, so or so simple that if I surrender, then I will be given that choice or that assurance that I will have a place there already. So some people may think, okay, I want to go to heaven, so I join your club, then I sign my name, I pay some money, then my name is recorded in heaven. So if you look at Ariya Pariyasana Sutta, you can see that you need to continue to search for what you think, you really wish, because we can see in the discussion a lot of saying that peace, happiness, enlightenment, and so we have to seek the right way, so keep searching, and until you fulfill that those noble search that is answered, so search for what is wholesome and noble, so this is very key. Next one, the ultimate goal is to attain enlightenment. So we have a long goal and short goal, right? But ultimately we need, if we are looking for real peace, true happiness, enlightenment, even as we work to fulfill our basic need, we still can actually able to set our goal right, because setting our goal at the right direction, the Buddha said, is a blessing. Without a goal, we go nowhere. We say we want to go to Penang, but it ended up in Pahang. So that is where not means we are not clear about our goal. Of course, in the modern terminology, you know how to set goal, you will use the word SMART, right? SMART, right? So SMART means you must have a specific goal. Specific, you must specific. You cannot say, I want like this, but what is? So if the word is, let's say, okay, to seek enlightenment, okay? So that is specific. Then the second thing is M, yeah? N stands for measurable. If is enlightenment measurable? What do you think? But they say Noble Eightfold Path is measurable, right? Yeah. Third, achievable. Do you think achievable? Achievable, huh? Then the fourth, is it relevant to your life? Relevant, right? And then time bound. Can you set a timeline to it? Can also, right? So you can even use the modern way of doing it. You use the SMART goal. S stands for specific, what goal you want to set for yourself. M stands for measurable, A, achievable, R, relevant, then T, time. So in this way, we said our ultimate goal as a Buddhist is to attain enlightenment, Nibbana, because we seek for what? We seek for happiness. Nobody do not want happiness. And enlightenment contain those, whether it's a worldly happiness or spiritual happiness, but in the rightful way, in a wholesome way and noble way. So it doesn't mean as we are in a seek spiritual quest or happiness that you will like be separated or whatever. No, you still can actually have your family, but you care for them, but you're not attached to them. So it's a different state of the wholesomeness of your mind. So liberation from samsara, that is important. So we see in the throughout the search, the Buddha do a lot of bhavana, cultivation of mind, not the body but the mind. So he lived on very simple, what they call life. So we too can. The four requisites, right, is the need. Other than what is wants. So when we have too much wants, that's why we get into suffering a lot. But if you have a very contented, your four requisites is fulfilled moderately, then you can start to search, noble search. And so here, the practice of bhavana, cultivation of mind, throughout the day, can be done to discover the truth, and it's very important. And you need persistent striving. So, for example, some of you all may take the effort to go for retreat, or every day you allocate, let's say, 1 hour to do your meditation. Whether you can use method of anapanasati or different state. So then you can actually chart your way and to achieve what you can do for your SMART goal to be fulfilled. And then you need to find a suitable condition, place where supporting resources are there, and then you start striving. You must start practicing. Without finding that, then again, time passed and 1 year is gone. So hopefully in this year, you can also do this exercise so that you'll be able to fulfill your search. At the end of the year, you may have ability to also measure how far you have gone and how far you can practice. So the last keyword is strive until you realize. So we can see that what the Buddha realized, we said the three knowledges, right? Past life, recollection of past life, then the eyes of seeing that how beings die and then are born in a different realm, and that is of course the law of the karma, and the vipaka. And the third one is dependent origination. But in this particular realization, the Buddha knew that his quest for enlightenment has been fulfilled. And this is quite a standard declaration, yeah, for one who has come to this state of enlightenment. And the Buddha mentioned, yeah, my deliverance is unshakable. This is my last birth. Now there's no renewal of being. Yeah. So they won't like regress back to become normal people, but their state of mind already surpassed our normal human mind. Yeah. And it is very profound, the Buddha said. Hard to see, because you cannot think by logic only. Logic cannot reach there, but truth covers logic, but logic cannot cover the truth totally. So hard to see and hard to understand. Peaceful and sublime. It's very peaceful and sublime. Unattainable by mere reasoning. So you may study a lot of, you may listen to talk, you may study a lot, but mere reasoning may not attain that state. So it is very subtle to be experienced by the wise. So bhavana is necessity to go deeper into the discovery of this Dhamma. But then the Buddha say, these generations delight in attachment, takes delight in attachment, rejoices in attachment. Everybody encourage another to attach. It is hard for such a generation to see this truth, namely specific conditionality. So the Buddha talks about the dependent origination. This is the unique discovery by the Buddha. And it is hard to see this truth, namely the stealing of all formations. Means all formation, bodily formations, mental formation, all steal. The relinquishing of all acquisition means the mind is free from craving totally, overcome craving. The destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, nibbana, right? So then of course the Buddha did not actually, his search earlier did not have the package of want to teach others. His search is just to find for himself, is there a way to free from birth, death, and all this, and then upon that, of course, he also think to teach others is not easy, they may not understand, but then of course, later, the Buddha also see in a way that although it's hard to reach, and it will not be able to be perceived by those with lust and hate, but this Dhamma that the Buddha mentioned, which actually goes against the worldly stream, although subtle, deep, and difficult, only for those whose mind is not inclined to inaction, but rather those who have little dust in their eyes, or with keen faculties and good qualities and easy to teach. And some of these, they are free to have that urgency to want to learn and practice. Then of course it was said with the request of Brahma Sampati, then the Buddha take the out of compassion, decided to teach, and because why? Because some, just like the simile, some lotuses that are born and grow in the water thrive immersed in the water without rising out of it, and some are born and grow in the water, rest on the water surface. Some they grow, although born in the water mud, but grow in the water, rise out of the water and stand clear unbattered by it. So too, actually, we are all born into this world, and some actually still immersed in the worldly matter. Some may rise up, but still not going out of the water. That means they are still in the worldly matter, and some have learned, but still not coming out from the water yet. So means we are still very much in the bondage of the worldly matters, or worldly material pursuit, or worldly quest. But some, the Buddha said, they can actually be in the world and grow out of the world, unstained by the world, meaning They are living in this world, but they are unstained by the worldly matter. So from there, the Buddha declare, open for them are the doors to the deathless. Let those with ears now show their faith. Okay, so it means with that, the Buddha actually declare that he will teach, and this is the path that people can seek for if they are looking for noble search to deathlessness. So who to teach? The Buddha also think, yeah. And so in this case, of course, the Buddha first thought of his earlier two teachers, but nevertheless, they have passed away. And the Buddha mentioned here, yeah, it's a great loss, yeah, for them, because they do not have the opportunity to hear the Dhamma that the Buddha discovered that leads to deathlessness. So in the realm of, let's say, immeasurable, they will take rebirth in the higher plane of the heaven, and they will stay there for a long time. Yeah, they have a very long life, but they are still not enlightened. Yeah? So then he taught the 5 bhikkhus in Sana, and so from there, of course, they managed to learn from the Buddha and managed to grasp the teaching. Yeah, and interestingly, before that, even someone who meet the Buddha, like Ajivaka Upaka, but he is not able to. Means he meet the Buddha, but he do not have the capacity to learn the Buddha with the Buddha. Yeah? And this is what he answered to the Ajivaka Upaka, referring to himself, yeah? Because he asked him, who's your teacher? And then what your teacher teach you? And the Buddha replied, I'm one who has transcended all, a knower of all. Unsullied among all things, renouncing all. By craving, ceasing, free. Having known this all for myself, to whom should I point as a teacher? So he is the discoverer, yeah? He is the one that discovered the path. The path is there, but no one discovered, but the Buddha discovered. And how he discovered all the quality, yeah, that the unsullied, yeah. So means the Buddha is pure, totally pure in that sense, yeah. And the craving is totally uprooted. So he said, I have no teacher, and one like me exists nowhere in all the world. Very rare to find a Buddha in the era. So we are very fortunate to have the Buddha in our era now. Yeah, with all its gods, because I have no person for my counterpart. Yeah? I'm the accomplished one in the world. I'm the teacher supreme. I alone am a fully enlightened one, whose fires are quenched and extinguished. I go now to the city of Kasi to set in motion the wheel of Dhamma. In a world that has become blind, I go to beat the drum of blessedness. Yeah. So here clearly we can see that although the Buddha announced to Upaka at that time, of course Upaka did not understand. He just shook his head. Be it so, then he passed. Yeah. So you may meet someone who's enlightened, and but you may not get what they want to teach. So the first time the Buddha declared is this, yeah. But later, of course, with the 5 ascetics, he teach the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutta, right? So this is where we start to connect with the Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutta, turning the wheel of Dhamma. We can see the format of how the Buddha declared the teaching is far most, of course, important, yeah, from declaring who he is. Of course, he just want to define what he has discovered, and people may not understand. But then when he teach a way, a noble path that leads to that enlightenment, people can understand easily. So, of course, last week I have asked you all to try to remember the 8. First is the right view, and then right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. So this, the Buddha say, is the path, yeah, to liberation. And one who seek for this path should avoid the two extremes, the extreme of indulgence in sensual pleasure, which we know that worldly search will lead to that. And the other one is self-mortification, also an extreme. Then the Buddha said we should also avoid that, because some spiritual quests, people have wrong view and they get to the torturing of the body. Yeah, so these two should be avoided according to the Buddha. And avoiding these two extremes, then one walk the middle path. And this middle path is none other than the Noble Eightfold Path. Right? So what is the result of that? Yeah, not only the Buddha can actually realize, and Kondanya also realized after the first teaching, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and then not only Kondanya, but the 5 ascetics too realized, and the same utterance they will put. Yeah, this is my last birth. There's no other birth. Yeah, the mind is unshakable. And then the formation of the noble sangha, and then it becomes more, and this is was preached to others, and another 55 of them, Yasa and friends, and all of them become or realize that state of arahanthood. Yeah? And so we can see actually the teaching can apply to us. And what is important is that we actually set our goal towards that, and practice and investigate and strive continuously, and that can happen to anyone with a keen faculty to learn and practice the Dhamma. So you can see the figure goes bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, and so from 60 arahants is spread out. Then the Buddha preached to the three Kassapas in Gaya, Uruvela there, and then 1,000 bhikkhus. And then the Buddha went to see the king, Bimbisara. The king adopted the Buddha's teaching. Then naturally the subject also will adopt this teaching. And after the 5th year of the Buddha's dispensation, the Fourfold Assembly established. And the Buddha even include the female to his Sangha. And that covers the whole perspective of mankind that the Buddha preached, and also making sure that they will continue to bring this forth to others, the generation to come, that there is possibility for unborn and deathlessness. And so this has spread not only beyond the country until our time, even today after 2,556 years later. So we will conclude today with this, that the turning of the wheel of Dhamma, the Noble Eightfold Path. So the wheel of Dhamma was put in motion 12 times with 3 turnings for each of the 4 noble truths. Not just intellectually that we learn and learn, but experientially. So we will continue for the next session. We will talk more on the Noble Eightfold Path, the factors of it. So thank you all very much for your attention. And now I will open up for Q&A. Yeah. All right. Any question? So can you probably maybe also look at again the discussion on the common search of people, and one's own common search, and which direction, probably if you look at the definition and the quest for peace, happiness, enlightenment, for well-being. So if you compare to the Buddha's definition and the search, then you can probably check, and so the ideal of the search, and also the actual search that we are going through. So would you like to share your search and also compare to the Buddha's search and your goal? Yeah. Anybody would like to just a quick, how far you think from the search, or how near, or does it match the search that you truly wish to search? Is it an ignoble search or noble search, or maybe half-half, or getting more towards noble search now? Yeah. Everybody quiet. Are you in search? Yeah. Easy, would you like to say something?
Yes, Ayya, thank you for the sharing. In fact, the search insight for myself here, when just today that we have actually conducted a first engagement for parents and students. So, what I notice mindfully on what I am aspiring to anchor is to have this Eightfold path to guide me as to really cultivate my mindfulness from beginner to intermediate now. So as because I definitely need to live in the mindfulness itself, not just knowing, as when for the past 3 years of knowing, then this time really to live in it and have to walk the talks when you are sharing with the parents and also the students. So this is where the path that we have first engaged, and we bring the mindfulness program to the Sunday school, and the parents, we have about 40 students, and roughly about 17 parents turn up and consent for this program of mindfulness. So we want to use the Dhamma. After we have 1 hour session of mindfulness practice, then we have Dhamma that comes in to anchor on the Eightfold path and 4 Brahma Vihara, so we can connect this path together. So, and we can understand better and can feel and reflect better in that sense. Yeah.
All right. So means you're adopting already the Noble Eightfold path, and the application, of course, we put in place, and we know that this will lead to some good, wholesome state of practice. Yeah? And I think your keyword is that walk the talk, because everybody learned. But whether do we walk the talk? Because when you walk the talk, then you will see the result, right? And but it is good in a way that we already know the Noble Eightfold path. And again, behind the mind is important to know that the search, yeah, still coming in, whether the search is noble or ignoble. If noble, then of course the Noble Eightfold path will be a way of life, yeah, in our life already. So you will adopt it very easily, yeah. So then, of course, coupled with like work and all this earning for a living, it's nothing wrong. Even the Buddha say, you know, we just earn righteously, and that is according to the Noble Eightfold path. Yeah, so means we are living with the Noble Eightfold path, and we are actually fulfilling the noble search, because we are feeling something that help us to keep the precept well, and you know, being ethical and earning with our own sweat, you know, then we appreciate it better, and we also feel glad when we spend or share with others. So those are something that we should cultivate. It's not that asking us when they say noble search is that you got to let go everything. Not like that, yeah. Because most of devotees are working, and not many people are going for, of course, you know, this spiritual final path that to renounce. But the renunciation comes to renounce sensual pleasure, but to put your time and practices that helps you to develop inner happiness. Yeah, you don't have to depend on the sensual desire or pleasure from external. Yeah, of course, external environment will give you some conducive condition for good state of mind. But having practice, then if in case the environment change, you are not disturbed by it anymore. I think that is very important. All right. Thank you for sharing. What about other people? Yeah. Well, Sam is smiling. So what do you think, Sam?
I think now I start to question more about my search, because I'm not sure if it's under noble search. I think it's more like worldly search. So maybe need to re-examine again.
I think it's also a good way, like I said, you can actually relook into the search that you are searching, and so that you be aligned with the final result that you wish. Yeah, so it has to go in line. So then your energy, your time spent, your resources will gear towards what you truly wish. Because if you truly wish for happiness, peace, enlightenment, is freedom from suffering, then that will help you to set a proper way how to reach there. Okay, so also good, as I said, to relook into your search, yeah, because what you wish should be in line with what you want in life. Yeah. So like I said, you can use a simple method on the modern way of setting goal. There's SMART. Yeah. So you can name like maybe 3 things that you want to set for yourself in this year. Yeah. So whether you're Sunday school teachers, or whether you're own practitioners, or whether you're still working or retired, you can set one specific goal, or maybe 2 if you have. Then measurable. Yeah? Measurable means you can actually really know one. Like last time, I got no time on to meditate. Now every day at least I spend half hour. So that is already measurable. Yeah, you are making effort, and therefore the effort will also yield some result for you. Yeah, measurable, achievable. Achievable. People may think, oh, Nibbana is like after death. Not true. Nibbana is in this life. Yeah. So you have to get proper understanding. Right? A lot of people don't know one, They think Nibbana is after die already, then only talk about Nibbana. And now people talk about Nibbana because you have to pay for it. So you got aircons, high class service, and that is called Nibbana. Yeah, not like that. Yeah. So you have to get it right. And third, we say achievable. 4th is relevant. So I believe that Noble Eightfold Path, your noble search is relevant in your life, because what you seek for, peace, happiness, well-being, enlightening moment to be free from suffering. Yeah, all this we seek, and time-bound, this specific time for us. So if we are into the 2nd quarter of our life, you can still think that you have a little bit better time, and while energetic, young, and so we have more capability and capacity. But when you are 3rd quarter, you may also have more time to do that. Then you can actually make your time daily, to spend, because you don't have to worry about earning your living anymore. Yeah, just live simple, and you can have more time to do your cultivation. Right. So I think this hopefully help you to set your goal in a direction that you really wish for. Yeah? So next session, then we will discuss more on the details of the factors of the this Noble Eightfold Path. and how you apply in your life, how you look into it. All right, so thank you very much for your attention and participation.